I've been playing football my entire life. Ever since that I could walk, I had a ball at my feet. And in my long career of playing football, I've had some referees along the way, every now and then that I didn't think were quite up to the standard or the level that I was playing at, especially as of the last few years, maybe playing at a higher level amateur league and the referees are somebody you'd find at a U10 girls game. They're just out of their element every now and then. And that's just the case when you're not a professional player. But once you become a professional player, you're going to see that the level of referees also rise, even if they're not always perfect. Even in the Premier League, referees like Anthony Taylor get a lot of slack, but when you compare it to your average men's rec league referee, Anthony Taylor is an absolutely superb referee in comparison, even if he does get slack as a professional referee at such a high standard. Either way, you're going to expect a higher level of refereeing when you become a professional, at least 99.99% of the time. But every now and then you get a referee like Kevin Ortega. Kevin Ortega is a younger, less experienced referee who is assigned to referee as the center in the USA versus Uruguay Copa America match. And I don't think I've ever seen somebody so out of place. It's like if NASA hired me as a rocket scientist and I had to figure out how to get this thing to the moon. It was basically the equivalent of putting Kevin Ortega in the center of that match, because it was not just frustrating, but also at times just a little bit sad, because it was obvious that this guy just had no idea what was going on. Not only was he missing calls, every referee is going to miss a call or two a game, but I think you could have probably flipped a coin and had a better success rate at if it was a foul or not. Let's say if it lands on heads, you blow the whistle, and if it lands on tails, you just let it play on. I think you have a better success rate on being the correct call with that method than Kevin Ortega out there on the pitch. But not only was he just missing calls, he was also just completely ignoring the laws of the game. There was a point in this match in which our center back for the USA went into a tackle. It was a yellow card, and rightfully so. He blew the whistle. It landed on heads. So he blew the whistle, and he was pulling out a yellow card for stopping a promising attack. As he's pulling out this yellow card and pulling our player aside, Uruguay take the free kick. And so he's halfway to lifting the yellow card, and he says, "Forget that. Let's play on. Let's just go ahead and start playing." Now, there's like 4 or 5 of the U.S. men's national team players just kind of looking at the yellow card and wondering who's getting it, or wondering why, or arguing about it, or whatever it might be, while Uruguay are just going ahead and gonna score. If it wasn't for Tim Ream basically clearing it off the line, Uruguay would have scored. Now, the commentators even were like, what is going on? And then they even brought in the rules analyst, and he was like, yeah, it's just an unexperienced referee in a situation maybe he's never been in before. He obviously messed that one up. We'll see. I think they're going to go ahead and fix it. And then they just were like, no, we're just going to go ahead and do the throw in now because we let that play happen. And they did end up giving the yellow card to, I believe it was Chris Richards, but he didn't actually get fully shown the yellow card. He was only halfway up. So I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe that yellow card shouldn't have even stood. Either way, it was so confusing because when a yellow card comes out, you do have to stop play. But not only stop play, but you have to wait until play is ready to resume. Obviously, referees like to take time to write it down in their book most of the time. Not that that is, required, but it's the standard procedure. And in the laws of the game, it does say that there has to be an orchestrated stoppage in order to return to play, which obviously did not happen. That was just the least of errors, because once it came to Uruguay's goal, which was just obviously offside by even the naked eye, what happened was it went to VAR, and I don't know how they missed it. Everybody that was watching it on television had a clear picture. The guy was clearly offside, and they just did not have, I guess, enough evidence. Obviously, there's not the automated offside in Copa America, but there has to be a level of just common sense in the VAR room. And I don't even know if I can blame Kevin Ortega for that one, because he's got somebody talking in his ear, and they missed that call as well, which was the only goal of the match. Now, USA still needed to score one, so can you blame everything on the referee? No, you can blame some on Greg Berhalter and the players that couldn't get the job done. And you can even blame Timothy Weah for the red card we had against Panama. Either way, this entire federation is a joke. The CONMEBOL Copa America tournament has been a joke, because refereeing has basically been the main focus of the tournament. And in a sport where you want the referee to be involved really at least as possible, if you go through an entire match and you don't know what the referee looks like, or don't know the referee's name by the end, that's generally a good referee. If you know the referee's name by the end of the match, or you hate him by the end of the match, generally he did a pretty bad job. And right now, I've pretty much known every single referee of this tournament, and I'm not a big fan of them so far. Ivan Bartone and Kevin Ortega, you guys have blood on your hands, but nobody has bigger blood on their hands than Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter has led this U.S. men's national team into a just suffering mediocrity. I mean, he never performs better than he possibly should, and in this tournament specifically, he underperformed, because when it comes down to it, we've seen much worse U.S. men's national team players and squads go much further in Copa America. We've seen teams of much less quality, like 15 years ago, go up and beat Spain in friendly matches. But in the end, the only teams that Greg Berhalter, in his entire tenure with the USA, which is like 6.5 years now, the only teams in the top 20 that he's been able to beat are Mexico and Iran. And that's the end of the list. Every single other team, and there's about 20 of them, he has either drawn or lost against. He never punches above his weight, and every single time it happens, he'll either blame the players or he'll blame the ref, which, to be fair, maybe a little bit justified this time around. He might blame the fans for not showing up. He might blame the weather. It was too windy. He might blame the rain. I don't know. But he has always got an excuse, and then he follows it up with, well, you know what? It was a good performance, and we're just seeking a performance at this point. We don't need a result. We just need a performance to make sure we're on the right track. Hey, Greg, we're in a tournament. We're in Copa America. This isn't a friendly match. This isn't a developmental team. We're here to win games. And might I remind you, you also managed the USA, and I'll tell you what, even if the USA is the 72nd ranked team in the world, which they're not, but hypothetically, if they were, we're going out there against Brazil, in Uruguay, in Argentina, and we're going out to win. That's how the USA works, all right? That is the mentality of an American. You are not an American. You are a terrorist. And this terrorist needs to be fired and put under the jail. It is absolutely embarrassing, not only his performance on the pitch, but the absolute cowardice of his post-game press conferences as well. He is an absolute termite to this team, a bug, a bacteria. He needs to be gone. And to be honest, I don't care who replaces him, if anybody. I think we could go out there with BJ Callahan and do just fine, even better than what we're doing right now. But what we need right now is not a friend to the players, is not a buddy in the locker room. We need somebody who's going to get the best out of what is the best individual talent that the USA has ever seen. The first time we've ever had 11 starters playing in the top 5 leagues in Europe, and it's not even close. That is never even close to have happened in the past, and you have this golden generation, and you are leading them to below mediocrity. We've seen way worse teams as individuals, but they fight with an American spirit in these tournaments. They go out to win, and sometimes they surprise us. But there's no surprises here. We know exactly what we get with Greg Berhalter, and we know exactly what we're going to get in the World Cup in 2026 if we keep him around, which is going to be either a round of 16 loss, or we're going to maybe get out of the group stage and beat the teams that are ranked 50th and 60th in the world, and then the first good team we come up against in the knockout rounds, we're going to lose by 1 or 2, and we're going to say, hey, we had a good performance, and then give them another 4 years, because this federation is a joke.